Oh, what's going on, my marketing people? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, joining me from New York is Deidre Hudson. She is the CMO at Payability. Deidre, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
I'm excited to have you on and talk about the nitty gritty, the nerdy stuff, the marketing, getting our hands dirty and getting back to basics. I'm really excited about it. But before we jump into all of that, I want to let you introduce yourself to the audience. So give us your backstory. Were you an accidental marketer? Was it always the plan? Walk me through your career journey to date, and then we'll hop into to some of the stuff you're doing now.
Awesome. So I started off, my story is a little bit interesting, I guess. I started off wanting to be an accountant. I was in high school and I was preparing to go to college to study accounting. I wrote letters back when people actually wrote letters to accounting organizations to get information, and I was just reared up to be a CPA. And I started working in the membership department of a human rights organization, and we were doing direct marketing. I was working with a person, Lee Weiner, who was this brilliant statistician, and we were doing lots of direct mail, but lots of analysis, so lots of like demographic analysis and psychographic analysis. And I fell in love with marketing, and I switched my major. It was weird because I started to envision myself as being in a cubicle surrounded with reams and reams of adding machine tape. Again, dating myself back to when adding machines had tape. Um, but I fell in love with marketing because of the analysis that we were doing, and where one row of numbers in an Excel spreadsheet could indicate a completely different person than that second row of numbers. So I've switched my major to marketing, and it's been marketing ever since.
I love it, and it's so interesting because I think when people hear marketing, right, and I think sometimes marketing can get branded as the creative division. And it really is the mix of art and science. It is okay. Creative is a massive part of it, but how are people reacting to that creative? What's going on? Oh, like you said, the psychographics and demographics, right? Okay, we know that middle-aged men are more likely to buy this power tool, but what are they going through? What are they actually thinking? What's the emotion they have? And then being able to draw some statistics and then make data informed decisions. I love that. I think that I love that you're able to take that accounting kind of inspiration early on and translate it into marketing. And I think it's a lot closer or more understandable than most of the outside world might think. They might think, "What? You went from accounting to marketing?" And it's like once you get in and you start to get into the data, it's not as different as you would think, right? When we look at the numbers and are able to analyze it and go from there. So I absolutely love that. Um, Now, your career journey, you jumped in. Walk me through kind of the path. I know you recently have joined Payability as the CMO, but walk me through your path. What led you, to Payability?
Um, I was throughout my career, I had been in different industries. So I spent some time, as I mentioned earlier, in nonprofit, and then I went to B2C. I spent a little time in B2C, and then I kind of fell into B2B. So I really like the B2B aspect, or the B2B approach to for marketing. And I just kind of, as I went through my career, I realized that I wanted to just stay focused on B2B. I came to Payability about a year ago when I was looking to make a move to a more senior role, and I came across Payability as a company. And then as I kind of researched it and learned a bit more about it, and about what the company was actually doing, I became intrigued because what we do is we offer funding for e-commerce sellers. And as you get to know that audience a little bit better, you really get to the core, like core human stories. I'm always intrigued by just human behavior. So the sellers that we are helping are people who have started businesses because they wanted either, additional source of income, or they wanted to, they had a very goal specific of, saving for college or paying off college loans or building a business for their family. but there's always a human story behind it. And, being with a company that kind of helps people to realize their dreams and to meet those goals was something I became very attached to.
I love that, right? When you're able to see other people's your customers' purpose and passion starts to help fuel yours. Oh, we want to enable these people. We want to make sure that they can go out and do that and live a, maybe have a side hustle that helps their lifestyle, or it's their full business. And it's like, okay, cool. We want to enable these people who are starting their own e-com brands. Now, we also look at things like payability, where we're able to give funding. I'm assuming you you all were an amazing life raft when there was massive shipping delays. Would that was that when we were looking at, what was that, 6 months ago, when there was, I'm in LA, so all the boats, you could see them out in the harbor,
Yeah.
and everyone is like, "That's my product out there. Uh, I have payroll still, or I have supplier. I got warehousing costs, but I don't have product." Like, I'm assuming. I'm assuming y'all saw a jump in activity, or having to kind of come in at that time. Did that take
Well,
place?
we would definitely, yeah, we definitely were feeling our customers' pain because, and it's listen, to be honest, the supply chain reverberations are still kind of going on. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, I don't think. So, people are still feeling the sting from that, and we were definitely hearing that from our customers. And it's exactly like you said. They didn't have product to sell. There was demand, but there was no, they couldn't get products and they couldn't get their inventory in. That also affected their buying cycles because now they need to buy when they're thinking about purchasing inventory. They need to buy more because they need to stock up more, to try to guard against these supply chain issues. That requires more capital, and that's where we come in.
Yeah, that's the interesting part behind it, and that you're able to see too now, is like that game of ecom that anyone who's listening now who is an ecom founder or works in that space knows. You're always battling not only supply to, like, what's the demand, but then how much supply do I need on hand. I don't want to over order. The last thing I want to do is be stuck with a warehouse of last year's goods that I can't sell at cost, and it turns into uh a whole mess. So I love that you guys
Right,
are able to help, bridge the gap for people, really. um
right.
so now we fast forward, and not fast forward, but change gears to look more at payability in your brand story and your brand's objective now. Now, I know that, you know, you all were there, and you had a moment where it said, okay, we need to take a step back, and we need to re-examine who's the audience we're speaking to, who's the customer we're speaking to, how are we talking to them. Walk me through uh that. Like, what has that process been like, at coming in, you're in the senior role, but now you're like, okay, we need to take a step back. Who are we talking to? How are we doing? Like, what are the steps you're taking to go after new audience segments?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time at the company. We are taking a step back, and we're really just asking ourselves the hard questions of who are we as a company? Who are we best able to serve from a target market perspective? And what does that look like, right? When I came to Payability for the past, I've been here almost a year. So for the past, 11 months, we've been very focused on kind of optimizing the things that we were doing and doing those things very well. What we started to realize is that we needed to take a step back and kind of refocus and make sure that the things we are doing are the things that we actually ought to be doing. So what we're doing is we're taking a step back. We're reevaluating our go-to-market strategy. We're going after a completely different segment of the market than we had historically focused on. And while that seems, redoing your whole go-to-market strategy and in, almost middle of the year seems like a scary thing to do, it's actually pretty exciting as well because, I get to just start over almost and really just kind of take a strong lens and evaluate what we should be doing, what we should stop doing, what are some new things that we need to be doing, and kind of just, almost start from scratch and build this marketing strategy from scratch. So that part is very exciting. I get to nerd out and do some research on the market that we're going to be serving. So I get to, spend a lot of time, which I love, in kind of data, and then trying to understand and compile these personas and understand human behavior. And then this is where the art and science of marketing comes in, right? Because you're really looking at data, you're trying to understand, you're trying to make sense out of numbers, and you're trying to put a story together. And then from that story, you're trying to put together a strategy. So it's really exciting time. I mean, we've definitely had some bumps. We unfortunately had to lay off people who were really near and dear to the company. But we got knocked down a little bit, but we're not knocked out, and we're going to come back stronger than ever before.
I love that. I love the I like that approach. I think there's two things there. One, I think layoffs are never easy, but like you said, you can get knocked down, but hey, you stand back up. And as long as, you're still in the ring and you're getting up and getting ready to go back in and, fight, compete, do all that, that's all you can do as a company. Two, it's kind of funny how things come full circle, at least what I hear you talk about. Like, that same inspiration in college when you switch from accounting to marketing, you're like, oh, I'm able to get into the numbers and do all this. And now, in a senior marketing role, but you're able to be like, okay, now we're getting back in, like we're starting fresh. What are the numbers? And kind of taking those moments, and you can almost uh, connect the dots of, like, at least I hear it, a very similar enthusiasm, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm able to like get in there and really do that. I love it. I find as we get more senior in our roles as marketers, it's very frequent that our hands get less and less on the work, right? And we're enabling people, we're leading people, but it's nice to get in there sometimes and get back to basics. Um, Now, when we look at payability and the rest, you've got the new audience segment. What is next for the company or the marketing efforts? Is there anything that we should expect to see from y'all?
Yeah, I love that you said that too about kind of getting back to basics, because yeah, you get to just go in and get your hands dirty again, right? So so that's what we're doing. What's next for us, and what you're going to see from us next? What I'm envisioning is that you're going to see a company. We've already been close to our customers, and we've already had good relationship with our customers. We've already been a brand that is much more human and personal, but you're gonna see that taken to the next level, I think, and you're gonna see that executed with a new level of sophistication. Because in going after the portion of the market that we're gonna start targeting, these are larger e-com sellers. They have a different set of needs than the customers that we have previously focused on, and requires us to speak to and interact with them in different ways than we had before. So much more kind of one-on-one, much more personal, much more relationship building, much more community building, but executed with another level of sophistication. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love it. And before I let you go, Deidre, if people want to learn more about payability, um, where should they head?
Yeah, head on over to our website. That's something else that we're going to be updating, but it's payability.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We do some social on Twitter, but our audience is much, we target LinkedIn a little bit more heavily than some of the other social channels. But yeah, head on over to LinkedIn or payability.com, and that's where you'll find us.
Amazing. And I'll put links to both of those in the show notes page. Deidre, thanks again for coming on the show today. This was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
All right, everybody. That's it for this episode of Mind Your Marketing. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Shelton, and I'll catch you next time.